Blevins here with the end of the vacation week. A little behind schedule, about a week on these videos, so I'll be trying to catch up this week as far as the backlog goes. But this day went really well. For the first day back after some travel, I had driven back the day before from up in the Sierras. It was about I'd say a 7-hour drive or so down to San Diego. But definitely the weights were moving okay on this day, and I'm looking forward to kind of the next run of training. You'll notice that the rep ranges stay consistent throughout the next 4 weeks, but the percentages are just bumped up in a linear fashion, about 3% each week, up to where I'll be doing, I believe, a 4x6 with about 80% on squats and bench, and a 4x5 with, I think, 82 to 83% on squats and bench. So some pretty heavy stuff come the end of this 4-week block that I'll be going into. And hopefully it should work real well and lead into another good strength cycle and then into a peak before nationals. This is kind of the first time I've felt good momentum moving forward. I was talking with my coach Hanny at TSA, and this is the first time I think there's been a lot of positives all moving together at the same time. The bench press is feeling good. The squat is feeling good. My form is getting more solid going back to these heeled shoes, and I feel more comfortable with the squat in general and feel stronger. I was having some issues with my hips, so the deadlift volume is going to be down quite a bit in this training cycle. A lot of singles, and those singles with lower percentages, so that I'll be able to work on form. One of the things that I'm working on with my squat is trying to have a more vertical shin angle. I have a lot of forward knee travel in my squat, and I'm trying to activate more of the posterior chain, the glutes, the hips, hamstrings, and use that in my squat since it's the strongest muscles that I have. That said, it is just difficult for me to do that. Even when I try to break at the hips first and sit back, my knees really do travel forward quite a bit when I'm going down to reach depth. Part of that's because I try to have a convincingly deep depth in competition with the USAPL, and if I ever do move into it, IPF competition, you really have to be convincingly deep to make sure that you're going to get the numbers that you're having in training. You don't want to go to a competition and only hit your opener. It's not a good strategy at all, and it's just going to lead to more stress on the day of than you need. You'll notice bench press moving well. For a lot of these reps on this day, I've since started locking out my reps, every single one, but some of these on these higher rep sets, 5s and 6s, I will not lock out every rep. But that's something I'm actually going to try and correct to make sure I'm getting all the work in my triceps that I need. I usually will pause the first and the last rep on any set more than 3 reps, just because I get really tired, breathing kind of gets off, and staying tight for that long with some heavier weights is not my favorite. I think there are different things that work for different people. I know Eric Spoto, who is a much, much better bench presser than I am, he doesn't lock out a ton of his reps when he's doing especially higher rep work. He really focuses on that bottom portion of the lift. And though I missed my last bench press in competition high, the form breakdown started fairly low, maybe only 3 or 4 inches off my chest. And that's what led to the goofy lockout situation that I found myself in with 501. So I'm hoping to fix that, but doing full range of motion bench presses is definitely not going to work against that goal. And you'll see here, sometimes I'll hold the last rep a little longer of the last set than some of the other ones, just because I'll make sure that I'm making it at least hitting the RPE for the day, or making it a little tougher on myself to make sure I can have a longer pause in competition. Some doubles on this day, 5x2. After this, it will be mostly singles. I think for the first 2 weeks of the next kind of training block, it'll be 15 singles, followed by 12 singles, followed by 10 singles the 4th week, with heavier percents on each of those weeks. Also, I got some new deadlifting shoes. These are the metal powerlifting shoes, and while I like the CrossFit light TRs a lot, the toe box is so big that my feet really do kind of squish around and move, specifically with sumo deadlift. Haven't had any issues with bench press or really with squatting either. But even if I tied the laces real tight, they would squish around. I felt much more solid in these shoes than I had in the CrossFit Light TRs. I've used them a couple times and like them a lot. Highly recommend them if you're a sumo deadlifter. Finished up with some close grip bench. Again, bench press has been feeling really good and was able to use very close percentages, if not the exact same percentages, as my regular bench work on this day, and still stay at an RPE 8, which is what my target weight was. Close grip is feeling really strong, almost as strong as my competition grip. These were for, I believe, sets of 4. Don't have it written down, but in any case, you'll notice there that last rep I held it real long just because I knew I had it solid. That said, I've had some really good feedback on the last few videos where I've opened up some theological discussion. I want to say that I really appreciate anybody who takes the time to comment, and really just the general feel of the conversations. There's a lot of respect. There's a lot of, I guess, civility among this subscriber base, and for that I'm just very thankful that people can talk about issues even if they disagree, and just have a good conversation. That said, I'm going to have another video that kind of picks at some of those things that people might be thinking about, and it's out of 2 Corinthians 3. I encourage you to read the whole chapter to get a little bit more context, but the statement that Paul is making is that He, God, has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. And this really hits at an issue of hermeneutics. How do we interpret the Scriptures? How do we understand them? And one of the things that I've worked with more and more, which is also something that is, I don't know, it's kind of like playing with fire, is when you move out of a strict interpretation of things as they are written, and you look deeper for the principles behind them. There are all sorts of laws. When Paul's talking about the letter here, he's talking about the letter of the Old Testament law, primarily from the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, and the laws that are contained therein, especially Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That said, what Paul is talking about is that a strict adherence to the letter of the law can actually go over against justice. Because if you lose the focus on the bigger picture, and if you misapply the principle of the law while strictly holding to the letter of the law, depending on the context you find yourself in, you may render justice or injustice. However, if you focus upon the spirit of the law, if you focus upon the underlying principle, the idea is that you're always going to know how to act in any context or any situation. Where this gets hairy is, what laws do we then kind of change or fudge or mess with because we're looking at the spirit of the law behind them, and what laws do we never change and we always hold rigidly to? Well, I would assume that something like thou shalt not murder is something we would always hold to no matter what. Yet there are some other laws, like perhaps not wearing clothes with blended fabrics, that we might change on a little bit, realizing there was a different point made at that time. In any case, I'd be interested if any of you have any of those kind of weird Old Testament laws that you've struggled with that you would want to discuss. Some of them are very strange to modern readers, and it's sometimes hard to understand why they were there in the first place. I don't think I have all the answers, but I may be able to have some of them, and would be interested to see if any of you have been thinking about those or struggled with some of the teachings in the Scriptures that have dealt with issues you didn't understand or thought were actually laws that perpetuated injustice. In any case, I hope wherever you're at, you all are doing well. Blessings.